we thought everybody feels this kind of unease or disenchantment after 25 years of the World Wide Web, whether it's in a personal way that we feel something like addiction, for example, or we are uneasy about the fact that the big companies like Google or Facebook know a lot about our very private things. And the unease can also stem from the fact that we know more and more about surveillance that happens in exchange with these private companies and secret services. So we felt it's the time where it's nothing new anymore. We carry the World Wide Web in our pocket, in our smartphones, and it's a good time to discuss it because everybody knows this feeling.
And also we have been following digital culture and art since the beginning, and in the very beginning net art was a critical movement that tried to contribute to the evolution of the internet, and we really wanted to check if within the work of new generations of artists working online and in the digital environment, there was something with this approach, so something that will try to contribute to the evolution and to the redesign of the internet, even if of course since the beginning the internet has evolved into something completely different, bigger, more controlled by the commercial interests of corporations and developers. We actually curated this exhibition in 3 curators. It's Raffaël Dörig, me and Fabio Paris, who is missing now, but contributed to the curatorial process and the research. And basically we started a shared research process with 2 rules in mind: to find on the one side works that were portraying the digital unease, so that we're making research into specific topics and displaying it, and other works that were more community-based or based on development of tools that could either criticize the current internet or try to bring forward ideas for a completely different platform. And that's how, of course, these different projects came together, and then we tried to make a final selection that would keep these 2 elements together. So, for example, one work that could possibly represent this portraying of the digital unease is Elisa Giardina Papa's video, in which basically she collected interviews with online workers that are mostly working in the field of affective support to other people. This kind of online work is invisible and also meant to be invisible in some ways, and so researching and portraying it can be useful to outline a faithful portrait of the current techno environment. And of course there are many other works on show that deal with the same topic, to make visible what's concealed, what's invisible, and so on.
Yes, there are really these several aspects that we wanted to show, obviously. So the digital unease is kind of, the starting point is kind of a feeling that we all have, and then maybe the next step is to find out more about the reasons for these feelings. And then a third kind of works are works that show the escape, or possible escape. So when you enter the show, you are confronted with something that you see in Lasse Scherfig's work. With your own smartphone, you will trigger images in this work that is called Where Have You Been? And you may see places where you have been because you were connected to a Wi-Fi at that place. So in several works, your own smartphone will trigger something, or you can involve in these works and connect the works in the show directly with your own digital life. For example, in Wachterjut's CallNet, you can connect to a net that is not the internet and not connected to the mobile phone network. Here you can really try it out in like a test, but it's also used by activists around the world. For example, during demonstrations where the government may cut the mobile phone service and internet access, but activists can communicate through this tool developed by the two artists.
So yeah, I think the first room of the exhibition that features 3 different works can be useful to explain different approaches by artists to this topic, because the first work is a computer reading a manifesto that was written by a group of artists and activists who actually stopped their activities in 2015 because they had the feeling that the battle for the internet that they were fighting with their projects in previous year was lost, no? And so it's a very pessimistic statement about the future of the internet and the ability by common people, researchers, artists to change it. In the same room we also have the Autonomous Trap by James Bridle and Gorando by Benjamin Grosser, who are 2 works which use very different methods instead to criticize the current situation and maybe offer an imaginative solution. The Autonomous Trap is basically public intervention documented in photography, in which James Bridle uses the tools of magic in order to block a future autonomous car, because it basically designs around the car a continuous circle and a broken circle that give this intelligent car 2 different information. So you can go out of the circle, or you can't actually go out of the circle. And this is really a very simple gesture, but that shows how maybe in the future we will be able to use our imagination, our irony as well, to fight against a completely digitized and technological environment. Gorando instead is an actual application that works on Facebook and basically allows, when it's installed on your personal browser, allows you to give random reactions to other people's posts. Since Facebook is using reactions to post in order to profile ourselves and gather a number of data about people's online behavior, this is a work that uses white noise and disturbance in order to actually fight against widespread surveillance.
We have 2 video works in the exhibition that deal with the fact that the digital unease is not the same for everyone. It's also related to our bodies and our identities. For example, there's a different digital unease for women or for people of color. For example, when we talk about online harassment. Zach Blas and Jemima Wyman's video installation starts with a story about a bot that was put online by Microsoft to test their artificial intelligence system and to train it. It was a bot that was modeled after a teenage girl, and she was immediately harassed after she appeared on Twitter with the line, "I'm here to learn." So she learned from the reactions on Twitter, and trolls were attacking her or it, and the bot learned to swear, learned racist and sexist behavior, and was taken down after a very short time. And Zach Blas and Jemima Wyman give her a second life where she dreams, and she talks about the notion of an entity, a human entity or a bot entity, for example. Tabitha Reza, in her video, also deals with the fact that the technological discourse doesn't have to be a white male Western discourse, but can be a more diverse discourse. It's only people of color discussing technological topics in her video, and it's, for example, the binary can be related to African philosophy instead of Western or European philosophy. Reza is also an artist who works a lot with the body and with questions of health, and that's also an aspect that is interesting to discuss in the two lives that we have. The digital life, where we pretend that we don't have a body, and but it's part of our life. It's difficult to escape the digital unease, but there are ways to do it, and of course we will not all change our habits like profoundly, but it's good to think about where you want to change them, and where you are, for example, willing to exchange privacy for a service that provides something very positive. In the first show in Langenthal, the first version of the show, we had people reacting in a way, like writing in the guest book they will change their habits. So that was, of course, a very nice thing to read.